Poll question today. You can go to @HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or email the show. I'm asking you, which horse is going to win today's King's Plate? No Time, Notorious Gangster, Tom's Magic, or someone else? And if you choose someone else, comment and let me know which horse you think it's going to be. So far, it's not even close. Tom's Magic in a runaway. 46% of HRN Nation saying it is going to be Tom's Magic to win the King's Plate. And I know that my next guest loves to hear that. He is former NFL wide receiver Mike Renfro. He is involved with CJ Johnson and Corey Johnson and the team at CJ Thoroughbreds. They are part owners in Tom's Magic this afternoon, and he joins me now live from Woodbine. Mike, great to have you, my friend.
Mike, thank you so much for having me. We're excited. I like those polls, by the way. Early polls.
I thought you might like the sound of that. I mean, this horse, he has literally done pretty much nothing wrong.
Yeah, he's been great. We got a little off track at Keeneland in the spring and tried in the Transylvania Stakes, and he ran back a little bit. But that was his only, and I wouldn't even call it a hiccup, but we're very confident. We've had a long-range plan that's actually worked, which is somewhat difficult in the sport. But the Stidham training duo of Hillary and Mike have kept the game plan working perfectly.
You know, at the beginning of the program, I was kind of outlining for our listeners the difference between the Canadian Triple Crown and, of course, the King's Plate today, the first leg of the Canadian Triple Crown, the difference between the Canadian Crown and the U.S. Triple Crown. And one of the big differences is that the Canadian Triple Crown and the King's Plate restricted just to horses bred in Canada. Tom's Magic, an Ontario bred, but he's facing Ontario breds for the first time. All of his previous 5 starts have come in open company. I don't know. Do you look at that as a little bit of a – I mean, this is $1 million race, but
yes.
Is that a little bit of a class drop maybe?
You know, you could look at it that way, I guess, but I've been at it a long time. I'm not a huge odds player or gambler for that matter, but the bottom line is when it's $1 million, my handicapping's gone from really handicapping to just figure out what the purse money is, and the higher it is, the tougher the race is.
Right.
So $1 million race, I got to think that there's obviously 5 or 6, 7 great horses in the race, and we'll see if that pans out. But, in general, you'd think just Ontario breds would be somewhat softer, but I'm not saying that or even giving into that theory.
Because there are some very good Ontario breds that you're competing against in this race this afternoon. Rafael Hernandez will get the leg up for trainer Michael Stidham, who does a fantastic job. Tell me the story of Tom's Magic. How did you first lay eyes on him? How did you purchase him? Tell me the whole thing.
Yeah, we've been going, CJ Thoroughbreds and our partners have been going to mainly Keeneland to the yearling sale, Fasig Tipton occasionally, but the fall Keeneland September sale is where we end up buying 8 to 10 yearlings every year. Last year, Marette Farrell is our main bloodstock agent, her and her team. Shortlist for us every day, and we end up taking home 8 or 10 yearlings. Obviously, Tom's Magic made the list. We have a few partners. One of them's in the audience today that he kind of frowns on us when we go outside of Kentucky breds because he's a Louisville, Kentucky man. He likes his Kentucky breds, but this one has worked out. The Ontario bred was, nothing that really overly concerned us. He's by Justify, and at $200,000, we got the hammer down and bought a Justify for what we thought was a great value. So it was just one that made the list from Marette Farrell that we follow pretty closely, and we try to stay in our budget, and that was, and we got him bought. He had a couple little minor things. I honestly can't even remember what they were. He went to our farm in Midway, Kentucky for a couple months, maybe 3. We delayed his early training. Normally we send him down to Ocala, like most, and break him in the winter there. But bottom line is he stayed at our farm. We sent him straight to Silver Spring Training Center in Lexington. Kevin Noltmeyer heads that program up, does a fantastic job. Next thing we know, we're sending him to the Stidhams, and he gets, I think he got 2 outs in 2024. His second out he wins. And from really that point on, basically the first of this year, we've been pointing towards the King's Plate. And other than some weather and dodging some scenarios where we didn't know if the race would go or take it off the turf. And, he's mainly been on the turf, only been on the turf. But bottom line is it's all worked out. that's the long answer to how we found the horse and kind of who gets a little bit of the credit.
Your partner you mentioned, who is sitting here listening to our conversation just over to my right, to your left, his name is also Mike.
That's
so
right.
We have 3 Mikes here. But do you have to be named Mike in order to be involved with CJ Thoroughbreds? That's not a prerequisite?
No. Mike's an important partner. That's why he's my bodyguard at these radio shows. But Mike runs the Louisville Thoroughbred Society Club. Little plug for Mike.
Nice.
It's a great venue in downtown Louisville. He's a native Louisville man and been in horse racing a long time and one of our key partners.
This is such a great game. I know former Kentucky Senator Damon Thayer.
He's part of it.
Good friend of mine. I got to know Damon back when he was working at Turfway Park, and we were just getting started with Horse Racing Radio Network. Awesome supporter of horse racing. He's also involved in this horse.
Well, with Corey Johnson, who's been track management for his whole career, friend of mine. We live in the same neighborhood in Dallas-Fort Worth. Obviously, his son CJ's involved, loves the game. We all love the game. But Corey has actually converted really from racetrack management, and he's kind of moving into, what's better for the horse owners. It's a terribly tough game, expensive game, great game, fun, awesome game. But we've kind of brought in 10 or 12 important partners to our venue at CJ Thoroughbreds, and we're just having a blast and enjoying the ride with them.
We mentioned the fact that you played 11 seasons in the NFL, the Houston Oilers, the Dallas Cowboys. How did you become hooked on horse racing? Where did that love begin?
In 80, I actually – there was no pari-mutuel wagering or racetracks in Texas that were legal when I was kind of in my prime of playing football. And we went over to Louisiana Downs a little bit in the 80s in Shreveport, 3-hour drive from Dallas, just to have fun with the boys, bet a little bit, might even have a beer occasionally. But bottom line was, in 88, that ends up being my last year in the NFL. I was playing for Coach Landry and the Cowboys. I went to camp. Michael Irvin was going to be on one side. He was a rookie that year. I was going to be on the other. I'd started, for 10 years in my career. And the good Lord had different plans. I pulled a hamstring day one, got it well. 3 weeks later, I pulled my other hamstring, hurt my shoulder, and I end up going on injury reserve, which for non-football fans, that basically means that I have to show up to practice, and I actually couldn't even practice, but to get my paycheck. But I did not have to be there for the games. There was no jersey in my locker on Sunday. And so going through a tough season personally and with the team, we ended up being 3-13, and that was the end of Coach Landry's that was his last season. Jerry Jones buys the team in January of 89. So it was tough to watch. I ended up going over to Louisiana Downs on Sundays to keep my mind off of it. Might have a look at the TV occasionally, but
yeah.
I was betting the ponies and having fun at Louisiana Downs. We ended up buying a horse, my first horse I ever purchased, and he wins 3 more races in a row. He'd broke his maiden. I paid a little money for him. He was a cheap Louisiana bred. Ends up winning me $300,000. And my football career is over. And what a transition. How lucky. I could have bought that horse and he was a nag and never won a race, and I wouldn't have got hooked. But I got hooked big time on horse racing. And I've been in and out of racing partnerships and ventures since 1988. So,
any of your former teammates involved?
Yeah, over the years we've had some. Bum Phillips, the first coach that drafted me, his son Wade Phillips, longtime NFL coach, have both been partners. Earl Campbell, the great Hall of Fame running back in Houston, was a partner. Danny White, my quarterback in Dallas, was a partner. We had modest luck, let's say. Wade Phillips is still a partner with us in a nice filly we have in California with Phil D'Amato named Hang the Moon. She's trying to continue to win a few more graded stakes for us. She's won a couple. And, it's a great transition for an athlete, to really enjoy the life after football. And most of us in our 30s, it's kind of over. It's what we're really good at, what we really know. Most of us don't know much else. And to transition, it's kind of a lot of people don't make it, athletes, stars, whatever. And when you can transition into a sport like thoroughbred horse racing and actually have some success, get to the winner's circle a few times, I mean, it can change your life. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful, fun sport, especially if you can find the right group to get in with. One
of the things that makes athletes great is their competitive nature. And you had a fantastic career, one of the great wide receivers in the history of the NFL. Does horse racing kind of fuel that competitive fire for you after you retire?
It does. The difference is I'm actually more nervous following my horses than I am actually playing. I could physically and mentally do something. Well, physically and mentally do something about it on Sundays playing in the NFL or throughout my career. I mean, I started playing football at 8 years old. My dad was a Cleveland Brown,
yes,
12-year player. He coached for 10 years for the Cowboys and Redskins and actually the Detroit Lions down the road. And so I grew up in the game, and it was an easy. I was comfortable.
Didn't you start as a ball boy for the Cowboys
at
one point?
I did. Their first Super Bowl was '71. I was in early high school, probably 16 years old, and they win the Super Bowl, and I'm a water boy. Those 70 and 71, they played in the Super Bowl, won the second one. So I'm working for Tom Landry as a water boy, and then I guess 8 or 9 years later, I'm actually playing for him. So that was pretty unique. But yeah, I grew up in the sport, and to transition over to horse racing, it's just been an easy transition. I mean, the training's similar, the preparation. The only difference is I'm already getting nervous for the King's Plate this afternoon. Is I can't actually do anything about what Tom's going to do today. I mean, Raphael can, the competition will, the surface could, the weather could. I mean, obviously it's a beautiful day. But my point is that's the only part you can't really control. As a player, getting in there, learning the play, seeing the football, catch it, run for a touchdown. You know, that was what I was, honed in on my whole career.
Yeah.
And now I can't do it personally. But
I've had several conversations with Jake Delhomme, for example, on this program over the years. Alex Bregman has joined me on several different occasions, and they both talk about the fact that they're more nervous watching their horses run, especially in big races, but any race, than they were. Alex Bregman said, I'm more nervous than I would be standing at the plate 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, because that's what I was trained to do. That's what I've done my whole life.
Exactly.
But here it's out of my control.
Exactly. That's the difference. And, but just the camaraderie, the people we've met, the great horses we've tried to get to the winner's circle, some with success, some with failure. But all of that is it's a great transition for most ex-athletes.
Talking with former NFL wide receiver Mike Renfro. He is involved with CJ Thoroughbreds, actually serves as the vice president of business development with CJ Thoroughbreds. That's Corey Johnson and his son CJ. They do a fantastic job. They are partners in their King's Plate contender, hoping that they can watch him get to the winner's circle later today. Mike, you had an interesting quote in an article I was reading earlier this week. You said, it would be the biggest prize that Mike Renfro's ever won. I say that, including both sports, because I won everything there was to win in the NFL except the Super Bowl. This would be on the top of my mantle. Yeah?
I think so. I mean, the biggest race in Canada. I'm an American. I'm a Texan, of course, but still, it's the King's Plate. I mean, it's $1 million race. Never won $1 million race. We've got a lot of trophies, and from junior high school, college, and even in the NFL. But MVP of the Cowboys in 1985, but never a Super Bowl. So this is going to the top. I hope they have enough trophies. Everybody wants a trophy, but I hope I can get a little trophy from the King's Plate if we get lucky enough to perform like we're hoping to. But yeah, it would be a great achievement. Again, I didn't personally have a lot to do with Tom's magic if we get to the winner's circle today, but it'd go to the top of my mantle for sure for trophies.
What have you enjoyed most about your involvement with thoroughbred racing?
Really, both. The training in the morning, I love visiting with trainers morning and afternoon. I love going to the races. I love getting to know partners and people. I mean, there's some of the most fabulous people in the world I never would have met, obviously, from wealthy to poor. You get all kinds. Really, their pocketbook kind of goes out the window when you get to the racetrack, and you can be with multimillionaires or people that are spending their, I hate to say it, but occasionally their paycheck, and all intertwine and get along well. And there's something about the racetrack that's just magical. And but from an ownership standpoint, I really do love the mornings, the training, the talking about strategies with the Bill Motts and the Dale Romans and, the Phil D'Amatos and, Cassie's had a few horses with us. We got to try to figure out how to beat his filly today. But, we try to hire the best. We've got great partners, and we try to, buy the best horses we can afford at the yearling sales. And one or two get lucky and win some races for us. We're all just trying to have fun for the main the main reason is
you mentioned some great names on the trainer side of things there that you've had the privilege to work with over the years. And as you were talking about Tom Landry, for example, I was thinking, man, who's the Tom Landry in thoroughbred racing? Because trainers are very much coaches, right? And they're working with these equine athletes and keeping them healthy, just like a coach might try to do, or training staff, or whatever the case might be. But I was thinking about that when you were talking about Tom Landry. Who would the Tom Landry be? And we don't want to single anybody out, but there are some great trainers in this sport today.
Yeah, Steve Asmussen, a Texan that's obviously trained some horses for us.
He's done okay.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's got he's got a tough, similar personality than Coach Landry. Bill Mott, who I love to death. I'm not, he's they're all Hall of Famers that we try to hire, and even people like Dale Romans might be one day. Our good friend, we love Dale, but maybe it's a Bill Mott type that's similar to Tom Landry. Certainly, a Steve Asmussen has some traits, but they're all very organized. They're very detailed. They're very tough. I can tell you they don't miss a beat, and I'm sure there's a half a dozen others that I don't know maybe quite as well that fall right in that Tom Landry category.
Well, Mike, it's been a delight to catch up with you, to hear your story. I want to wish you all the best with Tom's Magic. And one of the things I'm always cognizant of here on the network is making sure that our guests are comfortable and happy when they join me here on the program, which is why, by the way, I opted not to wear this cap during our interview today.
No,
right?
I couldn't have joined you, Mike.
That's Pittsburgh Steeler cap that I have. Everybody who listens to the show knows how big of a Steeler fan I am. You have some history with the Steelers from 1980.
No, that's who kept us from the Super Bowl for several years. My first 2 years in the league, we played the AFC Championship game in Pittsburgh. We were the wild card entry. They were the conference champion. And the first year, they just beat us like a drum. I think their third or fourth Super Bowl in 5 or 6 years. The next year, Bum Phillips made the great quote. We came and knocked on the door, and next year we're going to kick the SOB in, was his famous quote back then. And we came to the door again, and we had a catch. I did, and controversial in the corner of the end zone late in the game. Would have tied the game before instant replay, and unfortunately the referees had no access to replay. But they did huddle up for a couple of minutes, try to figure out if it was a catch or not. They decided it wasn't. I tell the story because we were in Three Rivers Stadium, and the pint bottles of whiskey were coming over from the audience and the stadium crowd and chunking them at the referees. I think they were trying to influence, obviously, the call that was delayed a couple minutes, and they ended up calling it a no catch. And we didn't get the touchdown, which would have tied the score. And, again, another defeat by the great Steelers. But, great team, a lot of admiration.
It was a hell of a rivalry back in the day.
It really was.
With Houston and the Steelers.
When we had Earl in our prime, and he was the MVP of the league at least 2 years, maybe even more. But we were a running team. It's much more of a running game back then than it is today, of course. But even us back then, we ran the ball. And if it was 3rd and 30, we might throw it to Renfro. So, but we gave it to Earl a lot, as you might remember. And then, I catch the same kind of offense with Tony Dorsett in Dallas when I get traded there. I mean, another Hall of Famer that I'm doing a lot of blocking as a wide receiver, but I would take it. We played on some great teams. So.
Well, Mike, I have to tell you, I went back and watched the video of that catch from 1980, and if there was instant replay, I think that might have been a little different result. But you looked like you had 2 feet into me.
Well, I think I did, and I wish we could have got the call. But as Mean Joe Green, the great Hall of Fame defensive lineman, says, when I see him, he's in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and he's very nice and says, Mike, you kind of got messed around on that call. That was a bad mistake by the refs. But, at the end of the day, we were going to beat your butt anyway. I say, yes, sir, Mr. Green, if that's what you think. But, no, they were – I mean, there's what? You know better than me. There's probably a dozen Hall of Famers from that team on that Pittsburgh team, offensively and defensively. There's at least 10. Yeah. And, we had Earl Campbell. So it was a little bit of a mismatch. But we challenged them a little bit. We actually beat them that year in the Astrodome. I want to say it was 6-0. I don't think they even scored in the regular season. Yeah. And then when it got ramped up in the AFC Championship, again, at Three Rivers, we couldn't do it. So great memories, great team.
Mike, I hope you get to celebrate another great moment later today with the King's Plate and Tom's Magic. And I hope you get that trophy for the mantle later today, my friend.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for being here.
Appreciate you.
All right, Mike.